if you don't have autonomy over your financial life, you can basically have your entire life switched off. Some believe that COVID was kind of a dress rehearsal for what's to come. People lost their life savings, never to be recovered. But what happens when they ban cash? There's going to come a day, it may happen in our lifetime, where we will have not your keys, not your Bitcoin. Self-custody is the true revolution.
Just being in control of your own money, it's truly is powerful, man. I love that.
You only had 3 things to do. And if you do those 3 things and just stay the path, you stay disciplined, you just keep stacking, you're going to win.
Welcome to the Bitcoin RX podcast. This is your host, Nurse Ralph. Today, I got with me Zane, who's going to help me give you a weekly dose of orange pill so you don't die from fiat disease. Zane, my man, how you doing, man?
So good to be here, Ralph. I've been following you, man. Really love the work you're doing, brother.
Thank you, man. Same here, man. I've been watching your videos for a while now, and I'm like, man, I need to talk to this guy, man. I love it. I love the videos. I love that we're no longer strangers anymore. This is good. I love it, man.
Yeah, it's cool. You know, this Bitcoin community we're a part of, you know, it's just full of so many cool people. And the fact that you and I can connect on opposite sides of the world, and we never would have met it had it not been for Bitcoin. So I'm just so grateful for this community.
Yeah, that's true. Same here. It's kind of it's crazy because like sometimes you like look at somebody, you're like, I don't really find like I don't know if I'll talk to them. But as soon as they mention Bitcoin, I'm like, oh, I want to hear what you have to say now. You know, so it's amazing, man. I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, man. Before we start diving into Bitcoin, man, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey before Bitcoin.
Yeah, so, you know, for about 15 years, my wife and I, we had a seminar company in Australia. And so we were traveling the country. We did about 30 events a year. And we were teaching people about self-care and self-education. So it was really about taking ownership of, you know, your health and doing things in a kind of a natural way, and then really working on personal growth and personal development. And we hosted some great speakers from all over the world. And then COVID came along and kind of put a stop to that business as we didn't expect. You know, we had a lot of pre-sold event tickets going into 2020, and it was a big wake-up call, Ralph. You know, really it caused us to really evaluate what we were doing and where we were at and our journey. And our kids were kind of getting to that point where they were out of school, and we were thinking, you know, what we were going to do, because that 2-year period, it was really about a 2-year period where we couldn't travel. But it was during that time that I dove really deep into Bitcoin. And, you know, I'd come across it in 2013, and like most people, the first time they dismiss it. You know, we don't need it. It's crazy. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's all these things. And it kind of came back into my periphery about 4 years later. And I read the white paper, Satoshi's Bitcoin white paper from 2009. And I thought, wow, this is interesting. And then I read the Bitcoin Standard by Saifedean. And then, 2020 came along, man, and everything just went into overdrive. And I said, something's not right in the world. You know, we've got real estate prices going through the roof, skyrocketing, yet people can't go to work. There's no productivity. There's no business. It's like, how can this happen? You know, and so it really caused me to question a lot of things. And here we are, 5 years later. And, man, I'm just so grateful for Bitcoin because, you know, Satoshi gave us a gift.
Yeah, I love that. You know, it's crazy because, like, I feel like almost like, I want to say 75% plus of the guests that I've had so far have said that it's because like during COVID is when we all kind of got it. Even myself, it's like literally like post-COVID 2022, 2023 is just when I really dove into it. So I'm like, damn, COVID really just kind of like, in a way, just, I don't know, man, if it flicks something inside of us, maybe give us more time. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think it was after during COVID exactly? Do you think it was the money printing? Do you think it was do we have more time? What do you think what was it about COVID that made more Bitcoiners exactly, in your opinion?
I think as Bitcoiners inherently, we just have this ability, I guess, to understand that there's problems in the world. Bitcoin is like a solution, not just to money, but a lot of other problems in society. And, there's a saying in Bitcoin, if you fix the money, you fix the world. And it might sound a little extreme, but it's kind of true in a way when you start really thinking about it, because most of how we run society is kind of pegged to, the money we earn and how we value things around dollars. And so, I think when we started to see all of these crazy, policies and draconian kind of measures that the governments around the world were kind of imposing on people and locking them in their house, and you couldn't travel, and you had to stand 6 feet apart, and you had to wear a nappy on your face, and all of these crazy things. It's like, as Bitcoiners, we were like, wow, this doesn't make a lot of sense. And then kind of fast forward to the truckers in Canada, and these guys were like, they'd had enough. They were fed up with what was going on, and they said, well, no, we're gonna do a protest here, which was their right to peacefully protest. And in the end, what did we see? We saw that their GoFundMe page was shut down. Some of them had their bank accounts closed. And so I think just through all of that, it was a real wake-up call that, if you don't have autonomy over your financial life, you can basically have your entire life switched off. Your freedoms and the choices you make and the political leanings you may have and your medical choices. And so I think all of those things tied together, man, has really been a wake-up call for many people to say, well, you know what? Some believe that COVID was kind of a dress rehearsal for what's to come. And whether you believe that or not, each to their own. But even if you think that is a possibility, that things could go down that track once again, this is really an opportunity for everybody to really be taking stock of their financial life. And really, Bitcoin is the only option that we all have to really secure our savings and our wealth and our financial life in a meaningful way that is sovereign, that is outside the system, that can't be stopped by any party, if they choose to do that. And I think had the truckers known this, prior to all of that, maybe there would have been a lot of them that were Bitcoiners, before the protest. But so, I think it was just a combination of a lot of things, man, that really just raised our awareness to a whole new level about what can happen and how quickly life can change. And we're seeing the ramifications of that now. And I know you're in the US and I'm in Australia, but I mean, we're now seeing a cost of living crisis and a housing crisis and prices of real estate now that 5 years ago you never would have imagined this would have happened. And this is really the price we're paying now from all of that money printing, all of that stimulus. We had a program here in Australia called JobKeeper. And JobKeeper was designed, and I can't remember the name of it. You guys had a similar program. It could have been PP something. But basically it was a program that incentivized employers to keep paying their employees and to keep them on the payroll during COVID so that they could, still function, and they didn't have to lay them off. And people were going, well, thank God, thank you for supporting us during this difficult time.
Right.
But not realizing that we're paying the price for that now through inflation. And that's really the point. We have to understand that when you print money and you create stimulus, it comes at a cost, and the cost we're seeing now is we've sold out a generation. These kids coming through now who want to buy a home, there's no way they can save for a down payment for a house now. It's just impossible. And this is part of the cost of all of these things that happen. And so, as you well know, Ralph, Bitcoin is the life raft.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. No. The the thing that happened in Canada with the truckers, that was truly a wake up call for real. Like I did not know that was possible. I didn't even know that banks could do that, to be honest, until then. I was like, oh, so y'all can just like freeze my bank account like this? Like that's crazy. Like just because, just if I say something that somebody doesn't like, like okay, all right, that's interesting. Okay, but that's crazy though. Like and what was it that back then, that in 2020, that really uh, like sparked your curiosity? Was it a specific person? Like was it like what who told you to go read the Bitcoin standard? What was it that you know that made you curious about it?
Yeah, well, that actually happened prior to COVID. So
Mm-hmm.
I read the Bitcoin standard in, I think, 2017,
Mm-hmm.
2018.
Mm-hmm.
And 2018 was the first time that I actually started buying Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
So it was prior to COVID that I started sort of dabbling into Bitcoin, but it was when COVID came that I really went to the next level with it. But yeah, I think, I've always been very curious about new technologies and the monetary system and creating wealth and all of these things. And, when I read the Bitcoin white paper, and I was kind of reading that against the backdrop of the global financial crisis, because I had some real estate deals that we had purchased and set up prior to the GFC that went bad due to the GFC. And over the course of about 7 or 8 years post GFC, we paid the price for that. And so when you were buying real estate in like 2006, 2007, when the market was just going crazy with property prices, and then the GFC came, it had just as much an impact here in Australia that it did have in the US. And a lot of people forget that the white paper, Satoshi's white paper, was a gift to the world that came out 1 month after
Mm-hmm.
the GFC
Yeah.
began in September 2008. So when Lehman Brothers went down in September, 1 month later, the white paper was released to the world in October 2008. And, I'm a great believer that that was done by design. It wasn't a coincidence that it was
Mm-hmm.
released at that time. And it was kind of like a wake-up call
Mm-hmm.
to the world, to the community, to populations of the world, to say, hey, you don't have to suffer like this anymore, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
banking cartel,
Yep.
right? This is
Mm-hmm.
your escape clause. And it's taken us 16 years to understand what Bitcoin is, to get to the point where we are today, where we now have a really clear future for Bitcoin. But yes, I dove into the white paper. I read the Bitcoin standard. I subscribed to a newsletter. There was a writer out of Melbourne. His name was Sam Volkering.
Mm-hmm.
He put out some of the earliest publications around Bitcoin here in Australia back in sort of 2016 through about 2019. So I was just diving into all of this information and trying to really get my head around this protocol, and so my interest was definitely peaked to a fairly high level prior to COVID. But then during COVID, everything just really went to the next level, because I could see,
Mm-hmm.
okay, here we go again. This is like a GFC Mark II,
Yep.
right? Here they are doing it again.
Yeah.
They're doing the same things. They're printing the money again. Here we go.
Uh-huh.
And
Oof.
it's the same story, man, the same
Yeah.
playbook.
Yeah, giving you PTSD over here. Yep. You're like, oh no, it's happening. Yeah. I feel
Yeah.
like the Larry Lepard's book, The Big Print. I'm wondering like when this is going to happen. Like I mean, we're kind of like seeing the M2 money supply creeping up a little bit. We've seen like small little things. We haven't cut the rates yet. There's so many things. That's like you feel like the stage is like getting prepared for something crazy to happen. But at the same time, if when it happens, ugh, it's I feel like it's going to be ugly. Maybe not right away, but I feel like a few years later, yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, as Jeff Booth says, everybody's waiting for the snowflake that causes the avalanche,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because we know, like, particularly if we're in the Bitcoin space and we've done a little homework on this thing,
Mm.
you can't really do homework on Bitcoin without doing some homework on the history of money.
Yeah.
And understanding what inflation is. And it's books like The Big Print by Larry Lepard, and The Price of Tomorrow by Jeff Booth, and Broken Money by Lynn Alden,
Yep.
Seyfardine's book, all of these wonderful resources that we have access to educate us and to really help us understand not just the solution, the orange pill, which is Bitcoin, but also to understand that we've got to take that red pill, that we've got to take the understanding of educating ourselves around the history of money and central banking and fiat currencies and why it is that money is broken, but yeah, I agree, man. It's going to be, when this dam does break, it's going to be a terrible thing. And my biggest fear is for people that we care about, who we want to get on this Bitcoin life raft, who won't listen.
Yeah.
We can't help everybody, but the ones we really care about, we just want them to pay a little attention to this thing, because when this life raft heads towards what I call Freedom Island, we want our family on this bloody life raft with us.
Yeah. No, I agree. I know it's like there's so many people that need it, but they just I don't know, they don't have that need to know, I guess. So yeah, no, it's crazy. Have you found like a good way to like educate people, or like to introduce the problem to people, as far as like, I don't know if it's like books or a specific podcast that you find interesting at all?
Yeah, so from time to time, I run webinars and just teaching people about Bitcoin, and I always highlight two main books, which of course is we've already mentioned, Larry Lepard's book, The Big Print. I think that's the best resource out there for newbies coming into the space, because it's quite an easy read. Or you can bring it, download it on Audible and listen to it if you prefer to listen. But the first half of that book is all about the problems with, fiat currencies and central banking and all of that. And then the second part is about the solution, why we need sound money, gold, and of course, Bitcoin. And so it's a really easy, digestible resource, I find. So I recommend that. In terms of, I think there's some really good resources on YouTube. I think you had Joe Bryan on recently. On your show.
Yes. Yep.
What's the
problem? That's a great video.
I mean, that's a brilliant resource. I mean, what's a 30 to 40-minute video? Anybody can watch that.
Yeah.
And that does a really good job of highlighting the problem. And I think as a kind of a red pill moment for somebody who's completely new, saying, hey, what's this Bitcoin thing, right?
Yep.
Listen, go and watch this 40-minute YouTube video.
Right.
And then if that piques your interest, maybe then you should go and read Larry's book, and then the Bitcoin Standard. And so it's probably a process.
Right.
There's another great video on YouTube also by Lynn Alden.
Yeah. The broken money one.
No, it's called How Money and Banking Work and Why They're Broken Today. How money and banking work and how they're broken today. I think the title might be Broken Money.
Okay.
But
I
again,
know I've seen one of hers. Oh yeah, go ahead.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see. I just want to like look at it real, because I'm like, all done. And now I'm curious, because I hold on 1 second. Let's see. Is it Broken Money? Oh. I'm like, I
think
it's
about a 40 minute
40 minute. Yeah, I've seen it. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that was a great video as well. Yeah.
And then of course, God Bless Bitcoin.
Yes, I love that one. Yeah.
That there is.
Yeah,
it's a very polished.
Was good.
I think it's hosted by Natalie Brunel.
Yes.
But it's just beautifully done. So many great personalities and educators from the Bitcoin community all coming together to share. And, I think that's brilliant as well. So there's probably a handful of resources, depending on whether people like to read or listen, or what their attention span's like, because, we know these days people, if they've got to dedicate 5 or 10 hours to something, they probably won't do it. But
Yep.
if you say, hey, go and listen to this 30-minute YouTube clip or
Yep.
40 minutes, then most people can do that. And I think just to get people thinking
Mm-hmm.
about what really causes these problems in society we're faced with right now, the wealth gap, the cost of living crisis,
Mm-hmm.
the housing crisis, these are real problems
Yeah.
that aren't going away.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right? And we
Yep.
have to understand what causes that. And most people think that inflation is consumer price index, 3 or 4% per year, because they've conditioned us to understand that you need that for a healthy functioning economy.
Yeah.
And as Jeff Booth says, it's probably the greatest lie ever told.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not true inflation either. CPI inflation, consumer price index inflation, is not the price of eggs going up by 40 cents in 12 months or bread or milk.
Mm-hmm.
True inflation is the rate of monetary expansion, otherwise known as money printing or currency debasement, otherwise known as theft.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. No, that's
I mean,
straight up. Yeah.
it was the great Milton Friedman, who was a prominent economist, free market economist of the 1970s. He won a Nobel Prize. He said that inflation is taxation without legislation. So we didn't vote for it. Inflation is taxation that you and I did not vote for. So it's a really evil, sinister form of theft. And so they can't increase our tax on income, because there'd be a revolution in the streets, right? And people would vote they'd vote them out tomorrow. So they can't say, well, we're going to increase your taxes on your income. So what do instead? They debase the value of your savings. They dilute the value of your purchasing power, which is really the net same result. It's the net same result. It's just another form of taxation.
Yep. Oh yeah.
But you and I didn't vote for it. So he was brilliant. Milton Friedman.
Mm-hmm.
He had it absolutely spot on back then when he said that inflation is taxation without legislation.
Oh yeah.
But these are the things that we don't hear about on the mainstream news, and people go about their day and they keep going to work, and they can see that life's getting a little harder, but they don't understand that there's a solution.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They don't. Yeah. No. It's like it's a very well disguised lie. It's crazy. I would just been fooled like this. Have you read the book Fiat Food by any chance?
I haven't. I've heard a
No.
little about it.
Yeah. Oh
But
yeah.
Is that the impact of the quality on our quality of
On
our
our
food
quality of it.
supply?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. It's also like, so I've been diving more into that rabbit hole as well, and like it almost felt like there's a whole nother set of lies as well that they just mask it with like it's an insane other part I feel like you might find it interesting, because
Yeah.
if you were into the health and
Health
wellness
and yeah,
side
yeah,
of it
yeah,
before
yeah.
Bitcoin, I'm sure you probably will find that book pretty
Yeah, absolutely,
interesting.
man.
So yeah, give it a try whenever. Yeah, I wanted to ask you, so you talk on your YouTube about the significance of 0.1 Bitcoin. Why is that significant?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I know that there's a lot of clickbait out there when it comes to YouTube videos in Bitcoin. And my goal isn't to generate clickbait, although in order to educate people in Bitcoin, they have to listen to your video, right? So it goes beyond clickbait though, Ralph, because the reality is that, I think for a number of years, the North Star, like the gold standard in Bitcoin ownership, was always considered one Bitcoin. Like if you could get one seat at the table of the 21 million hard cap of Bitcoin that exists in this new financial revolution, this digital Manhattan, whatever you want to call it, like Michael Saylor refers to it as digital Manhattan. And there's only 21 million apartments or 21 million blocks, and you have an opportunity to actually own one piece of this new internet of money. But the reality for most people is that, it's a big ask now. It's not like back in the day when you could get Bitcoin for $100 or $1,000. Now the price of one whole Bitcoin, it's sitting at what, about 110, 120 US dollars today, something around that.
Yep.
And in Australia, it's even worse. It's about $180,000 here in Australia because of the exchange rate. And so a lot of people, they get deterred or spooked by that because they say, well, hey, what's the price of Bitcoin? Oh, it's $120,000. Forget it. I've missed it. I'm not going to pay any attention to that thing.
Yep.
But in doing so, they're missing out on playing a part in this financial revolution that is happening right now. And so it's really important that people understand, number one, that you don't need to own one whole Bitcoin to participate in a meaningful way. And number two, that if you can get yourself, and I like the figure of 0.1 because it's 10% of a Bitcoin, okay? It's 10 million fractions of a Bitcoin, which is known as Satoshis, because per Bitcoin, one Bitcoin, there's 100 million Satoshis. So 10% of that is 10 million Satoshis. Now, there's going to come a day, right? It may happen in our lifetime, and if it doesn't happen in our lifetime, it's certainly going to happen in our kids' lifetime, where we will have Satoshi dollar parity. Mm-hmm. It will happen. Oh, yeah. Okay. And some believe it's going to happen in the next 15 to 20 years. Mm-hmm. Okay. That may be a stretch, but it's possible.
Oh, yeah.
So if you can get yourself to 10 million Satoshis, 0.1 Bitcoin, then in your lifetime, that could easily be worth, $10 million as an example. And so the reason I focus on 0.1 also is because when you look at Bitcoin's CAGR, its compound annual growth rate, and ARK Invest, who I would encourage your listeners to look up, headed up by Cathie Wood. She's a really prominent figure in the Bitcoin space. Mm-hmm. She's on all the mainstream finance channels, but she's also, on YouTube and all the big Bitcoin podcasts. But her company, ARK Invest, they put out figures quite regularly around the performance of Bitcoin. And they also look at all other asset classes. And so recently they put out a report earlier this year, a graph, that with their price prediction for Bitcoin within the next 5 years, 2030. And originally they were stating that, they, based on Bitcoin's trajectory, its tailwinds, its adoption curve, that Bitcoin was going to get to around about $1.5 million by 2030. Mm-hmm. About a month ago, they revised all of that based on everything that's happening right now with institutional money coming in and the US government and strategic reserve, all of that. And they're saying, well, hang on a minute, we actually think that the Bitcoin price in 2030, in the next 5 years, is going to be sitting more around $2.4 million. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, the next question is, how do you come up with these predictions? And so Bitcoin's compound annual growth rate, right now, it's running at somewhere between 50 and 60% compound annual growth rate per year. Very specifically, if we just take the last 7 years, and this is the report that you can look up online by ARK Invest, the last 7 years, Bitcoin has performed at a compound annual growth rate of 59% per year. Mm-hmm. All other assets, stocks, bonds, real estate, currencies, derivatives, gold, silver, fine art, collectibles, everything else combined, places where people choose to store their value. The average performance over the past 7 years, the same time frame, has been just 7.1%. So Bitcoin 59, everything else just over 7%. And so Bitcoin has outperformed everything else by around, 8-9 times in that last 7 years. And so when you start to apply that compound annual growth rate to 0.1 and you project that out 15 years from now, I've just done some figures here before jumping live, Ralph, and
Yep.
there's a tool I'd encourage your listeners to look up. It's called the Reverse Kager Calculator, and you can just Google it. But basically, what I've done here is I've just put in 0.1, which is about 12,000 US dollars, as the starting
Mm-hmm.
value. The Kager, even though it's been 59% in the last 7 years, I've just put 50%, a little bit more conservative. 15 years, guess what the result is? $12,000 today at a 50% compound annual growth rate. In 15 years' time, it's going to be worth $5.2 million.
Insane.
And so if we can just zoom out and have a low time preference, which is what Bitcoin returns us to, it returns us to having a low time preference, to planning for the future, to forgetting about instant gratification, which the entire world that we live in now is built on instant gratification. We have to have it now, and we'll worry about how we're going to pay for it later. That's not how it used to be. But now we're returning to, because we have sound money, we have something that not only protects and preserves our purchasing power, but actually grows our purchasing power over time. So if we can just zoom out and start storing our time and energy in abstract form, which is what money is, our long-term savings, our retirement accounts, rotating underperforming capital in these other assets and start deploying that into Bitcoin in a meaningful way, even just an allocation of $12,000 today, if Bitcoin continues to perform on its current path in 15 years, you'll never have to worry about money again. Now, what's really interesting about this, if you have a 15-year time horizon, okay, and I talk to people every single week, I do one-on-one Zoom calls, people come to me for consultations, most of them Australians, but I get some people from the US as well. Most people are in their late 40s, early 50s, and they have a 15-year time horizon. They know that they want to retire in their early 60s. But they're looking at their retirement accounts and they're going, wow, if I keep my money here doing 7% a year, in 15 years, I'm not going to have enough, right? And so they're going, well, hang on a minute, this Bitcoin thing, maybe I should take care of my own retirement account. And we have the opportunity to do that in a self-managed way here in Australia. And they're deploying it into Bitcoin because it's a form of forced savings that they won't look at for the next 10 to 15 years. And it's not going to upset their current lifestyle. So they don't need to draw on their weekly or monthly income. And so it's a really powerful, I believe, low-hanging fruit opportunity for people, if they've got a long time horizon, to look into their long-term savings, their retirement accounts, and to start deploying into Bitcoin. Because this 0.1 thing, like anybody who puts their mind to that, who's in their 40s or 50s, I truly believe anybody who really, really focuses on that, they can do that.
Yeah.
You know, it may be you have to go without some things for a little while, or maybe not do the vacation this year, or whatever it might be, but how important is it to you to never have to work again or to worry about money again? You know,
Yeah.
and this is what I believe is the 100x opportunity that exists right now for people who are coming into Bitcoin. When we also are at a time, Ralph, where I believe that the risk-adjusted basis of Bitcoin, like the risk-return profile of it, it's the best that it's ever been, because now we have clarity around this asset. You know, we have endorsement from the US government. You know, not that we need it, but it certainly helps to create clarity for the broader population. We've got Wall Street. Okay, they're now able to put Bitcoin onto their balance sheet and synthesize it through ETFs, so their financial planning clients can all have exposure to Bitcoin. These things we didn't have 18 months ago.
Yep.
So this is what gives us the clarity that Bitcoin, the future is really clear now. When I was first getting started in Bitcoin, we really didn't know whether it was going to survive or to fail or what, whereas now the future is clear.
Right.
So
Yeah, we
that's
know
kind of the
it's
long
not
way.
dying anymore.
Yeah. So one more thing I'll just say just to finish that off, Ralph.
Uh-huh.
So this 0.1, okay, so just remember it's all about time horizon. Now, if you only have 10 years to retirement, okay, then maybe you need to get to closer to 0.5 or 0.75 of a Bitcoin. Because compounding, as Albert Einstein called it, is the eighth wonder of the world.
Mm-hmm.
The lower your time preference and the more you're able to zoom out and let time do the heavy lifting for you, it's that back end, that last 2, 3, 4 years in that 15-year cycle that really compounds. And that's what generates the generational wealth for you.
Yeah.
And so 15 years is a great time horizon to have when you're looking at a savings technology, a fixed and finite asset like Bitcoin is. But if you can hang in there for that long and get yourself to 0.1, in 15 years' time, just one option might be for you to sell down $1 million worth of Bitcoin. So just say you've got the 5 million, you sell $1 million to fund your lifestyle for the next 4 or 5 years. Go traveling,
Yeah.
enjoy life, go on some adventures. If you've taken care of your health, you'll be able to do all these things. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%
That other
agree.
that 4 million that you've got left sitting there exposed to Bitcoin and its CAGR,
Mm-hmm.
even if the CAGR drops to half, to 25% in 15 years, in 10 years' time, it's become like $32 million.
Yeah.
And so
Insane.
this is how you create multi-generational wealth in an asset unlike we've ever seen before in history.
Yeah.
And so people just need to understand that if you zoom out, you're disciplined, you've got a long-term view with this, and you start now and you just keep your head down and you don't get shaken out, you don't listen to all the noise, you keep your eye on the prize,
Oh yeah.
life's going to be good. And not only for you, life's going to be great for your kids and your loved ones and your family as well, because I'm not sure about you, Ralph, but I have a big concern about the future for these kids. I've got 3 kids in their 20s.
Yep.
You know, and life's not going to be easy for them without help from the bank of mum and dad.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So we have a duty to our next generation, right? And
Right.
I've got a grandchild coming, man, in December.
Man,
So
congrats.
for me, you know, like I feel like a sense of responsibility
Right.
to also take care of that generation in some way. I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's all up to me. I'm just saying
Yep.
if I can leave some form of a legacy to my kids and their kids, because we've sold out that generation.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a reality. It's a fact.
Yeah.
You know, and it may not have been on purpose, but the system has really been designed, and all of the wealth now is concentrated in the hands of the baby boomers. You know, who have really benefited from the last 50 years and real estate prices and stock market and the over financialization of all these asset classes. Those people who have really just stayed the course with their assets, I mean, they're holding all the wealth, man. And so, yeah, it's really interesting stuff. But I think the 0.1 is still achievable for many people, and you know, I just think that, you know, in life and in finance and in personal goals and whatever it might be, if you can set yourself little mini targets, right, little goals, and you work towards those goals, it's amazing what can happen.
I like it. I like it. That's a good message. And you know, and the thing is, like, 0.1 Bitcoin is very doable. It's 10,000. If you hustle, you can get to $10,000-$12,000 for sure. And also 10 to 15 years is not that bad. I mean, that's not that long, you know. So if somebody really wants to get there, they can get there. And also, you're right. You know, you gotta not only stack for yourself, but you also have to stack for your future generations as well. So that's also a great message. Now, I love that. I love that.
Mm.
I wanted to ask you about self sovereignty as well, because you talk about that a lot on your channel. Can you explain to my viewers, what does that mean to you, and why is self sovereignty important?
Yeah. Well, I guess for me, Bitcoin was really attractive because when I understood that enabled me to be my own bank, to be the head of
Mm-hmm.
security in my own financial life
Yeah.
with no counterparty, without any permission required, that was kind of the place we came from when it came to our health education. Because we were like saying our message was, don't worry about the system. The system's just an engine that's just designed to manage dis-ease, dysfunction, and it wants to keep you in the system because that's how they profit from it. Be self-responsible. And we called it self-care. Take care of yourself. Okay. And so the transition from taking care of myself and my family's health on a self-care approach, and not listening to the mainstream news and the traditional education system, which we know is broken, really self-educating. In Bitcoin, we have this thing called self-sovereignty, and it's all about being responsible for our own money. And what's really interesting about this is that it's the first time in history that we have the opportunity to have our wealth secured in a way where there is absolutely zero counterparty required, right? And zero
Mm-hmm.
permission required. If you have money in a bank and you read the fine print, you realize the money's actually not yours.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is that in a time of crisis, banks, governments, financial institutions, they have the power to actually freeze access to your money.
Mm-hmm.
And if you doubt that, think back to the Canadian truckers of 2022,
Yep.
peacefully protesting, bank accounts were frozen. Think back to the Lebanese banking crisis of 2019. A lot of people aren't aware of what happened, but people lost their life savings, never to be recovered. They woke up one day, they saw a big fat round zero sitting on their screen.
Yep.
And Cyprus, I think 2013, these
Oof.
things happen.
Yeah.
These things happen.
Oh yeah.
And we know that Europe's bringing on board in October central bank digital currencies,
Mm-hmm. That's scary.
okay, which is another word for surveillance money.
Yeah.
So we're entering an era now where at some point cash is going to be banned because cash is a bearer asset. Okay, if you and I
Mm-hmm.
exchange dollars between each other,
Mm-hmm.
nobody needs to know about that.
Yep.
Okay, but what happens when they ban cash? We lose the ability to do that exchange. Now, I can't give you $100 for hosting me on your podcast today. Now, I can't give it to you because you're on the other side of the world.
Right. Right. Right.
But I can send you 1,000 satoshis
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and you'll have it in 10 minutes.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
without any intermediary, without any friction, without any permission required,
Mm-hmm.
you and I can transact with one another peer to peer
Yep.
without interference. Now, that is really, really powerful.
Oh yeah.
And so sovereignty is about being your own bank. It's about being autonomous. It's about being censorship resistant. If they don't like what you say, so long as you're not breaking the law,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
All good. But they still have the power to shut you down. But with Bitcoin, they don't. If you hold the keys to your Bitcoin.
Right. Right. Right.
Now,
Yeah.
that is the caveat. The caveat is if you're leaving your Bitcoin on an exchange
Yeah.
or you're leaving
Yeah.
your Bitcoin in an ETF or you're leaving it in a treasury company,
Yep.
You're at
And
risk.
yeah, yeah,
You
I
take self custody of Bitcoin, you are the head of security, you are your own bank, you are self sovereign. And not only that, you are you're seizure resistant, so your money cannot be seized.
mhm,
Okay. You're completely portable. So if things get out of hand in whatever jurisdiction you might be in, you have the ability to up and leave
mhm,
with 12 words in your head, or stored somewhere safely, and you can reinstate your Bitcoin in another country. So you
mhm,
take your wealth with you.
mhm.
You can't do that with the traditional banking system.
Yeah,
You just can't.
yeah,
And so I believe that self-sovereignty is the true revolution of Bitcoin. Now, people come to Bitcoin for one reason initially: number go up.
yep,
Okay, that's the marketing department of Bitcoin. Look at the growth of this asset. We've never seen anything like this in history. Okay, but the reason
yeah,
why that happens is because Bitcoin is absolutely scarce. It's fixed and finite. It's
yeah,
a protocol that is decentralized, that has rules, but no rulers.
yeah,
So nobody can change those rules. And that's what makes it such a powerful savings technology, because we trust it,
mhm,
right? Because it can't be stuffed with.
mhm,
And so basically, self-sovereignty is all about storing your value in a protocol that cannot be corrupted, so it preserves your wealth, but also doing it in a way where you don't need permission from anybody in order to access your money.
mhm. Yeah,
But you have to do this right.
yeah,
You have to do this right, because a lot of people, they buy an ETF, or they leave their Bitcoin on an exchange. Well, now there's all this hype around these treasury companies, and they think they own real Bitcoin. But until you take your Bitcoin into self custody, and rule number one in Bitcoin is not your keys,
know
not your
your
Bitcoin.
coins. Yep,
So if you leave your Bitcoin on an exchange, that Bitcoin is secured by their keys, not your keys. You may have your name on that account within that exchange, but that Bitcoin is secured by their key, not your key.
right.
And so if things go bad, unfortunately, your Bitcoin is likely to go bad as well.
Yep, just
And
collateral.
so the message in all of this is not your keys, not your Bitcoin. Self custody is the true revolution. Being self sovereign is being self responsible with your money, being autonomous,
Mm-hmm.
the separation of money from state. That's why Satoshi created Bitcoin. That is the true revolution.
Mm-hmm.
And that's education. It's something that people need a little time to get comfortable with that idea. I knew it took me a little time, and I did it in baby steps just to get comfortable with the idea of getting Bitcoin from an exchange into self custody. But once you do it a few times, you realize, hey, this is no big deal.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was the same thing for me at first. I was kind of like afraid that, oh, what if I mess up? Like, I'm like, oof, but then again, yeah, like you said, like once you do it once, it's like, oh, this is crazy. Like, cause I remember one time when I was trying to ask the bank for, I was trying to take out $5,000 from my bank, and I was asked questions. I mean, I felt like I was doing something wrong. It's like, oh, why do you need the money? It's like, excuse me, it's my money. But like, and then like after that, I was moving like my Bitcoin from the exchange to the my cold storage, and I was like, wow, I just did that, and like the money went in 10 minutes. I didn't have to ask permission for nothing. That's when I think it clicked for me. I was like, oh, wow, this is what Bitcoin is truly about. Like, you really are your own bank. So I think that's the part of Bitcoin that really, like you said, like it's like that's the most important part about Bitcoin, really. Like, it's true, its number go up, but just being in control of your own money, it's truly is powerful, man. I love that. I love that. Wow.
Yeah. And like you said, Ralph, like that feeling you get for the first time
Mm-hmm.
When you get a hardware device,
Mm-hmm.
or even a a hot wallet
Yep.
for the first time, if it's only a small amount and you're just sort of playing with a few dollars just to get used to the idea,
Yeah.
it's really liberating when you actually do
Mm-hmm.
that for the first time and you see that Bitcoin leave that exchange
Yeah.
into your
Mm-hmm.
own self custody.
Yeah.
You're right, man. That's when the light bulb really starts to switch on. And I really think until you take that step,
Mm-hmm.
you don't really understand what Bitcoin is.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Oh
know,
yeah.
and that's the thing that I really encourage people to do. I mean, like I said, people come to me. I do coaching sessions on Zoom, and a lot of people have already dabbled in Bitcoin. They've purchased a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but it's all over the place, man.
Yeah.
Usually it's sitting in a bad storage solution, or it's still on an exchange, and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
"Gee, I haven't gotten around to this yet." But then
Right. Right.
because I talk a lot about this a lot on my channel, people go, "Oh, gee, that guy, he said something that maybe I need to look into that."
Yeah. 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 Yep. No, I like that. I like that. Do you think? Because sometimes people think that like, for older people, it might be okay for them to just get an ETF. Are you on that page as well? Do you think like for older folks, it might be safer for them to get something that's so they don't lose their money, or are you like everybody should just get like just raw Bitcoin, no paper Bitcoin? Just let's just get. What do you think about that one?
Look, there's definitely. I was listening to a podcast earlier today with Mark Moss,
Mm-hmm.
who's just such a brilliant guy.
Yep.
I'm sure many of your listeners would have heard of Mark.
Mm-hmm.
Just a great educator, and he was being interviewed um, by Michael on the Bitcoin Way podcast, and
Mm-hmm.
he was talking about how some of these really large pools of capital and these institutional investors, and it's really difficult for certain people, maybe at certain levels
Mm-hmm.
of really high net worth. Um, Sometimes it's difficult for them to really embrace this full self custody thing for lots of different reasons, and sometimes there's other parties that are involved that are a party to those investments and those wealth. And so I think for those types of that league of investor,
Mm-hmm.
I think definitely there's a place for the ETFs and the treasury companies and that kind of thing. I just think for the average everyday person, I really think that self custody, real Bitcoin is the place to be. I really believe that because you don't have to rely on anyone who's going to stuff this thing up. Like we've seen that some of these companies
Mm-hmm.
historically, uh, you know, in different cycles, they can blow up,
Yep.
and
Yep.
they can be over leveraged, and a lot of financial engineering takes place. And while things are going up and everyone's happy, and
Mm-hmm.
you know the music is playing,
Mm-hmm.
everyone's having a great time. But we know that historically, things can and do go bad with those things. And so I just encourage people to not get seduced into the returns that, sometimes are a little better than Bitcoin in terms of performance. Just remember what the true revolution is. And it's not just number go up, it's actually also having sovereignty over your money. And the only way to do that is to have self custody. And so I really feel for most people, um, self custody is the place to be. Now, there are people, particularly older people, who are very used to outsourcing their financial life to their
Mm-hmm.
financial planner or their attorney or accountant or broker. And even for those people, I still think that real Bitcoin is the way to go. However,
Mm-hmm.
maybe for them, a collaborative custody solution might be better, like
Mm-hmm.
a multi-sig situation. So the onus isn't just on them.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have these different solutions out there like Unchained and Casa and Nunchuck, these multi-sig solutions where,
Yeah.
typically you need 2 or 3 keys to access your Bitcoin. So yeah, I mean, there's solutions out there, but I really think that for most people, real Bitcoin into self-custody or a collaborative custody solution is the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
But there's definitely a faction of high net worth that there's reasons why institutionally they're better off investing with ETFs and the like. But even wealthy people who understand Bitcoin, I'd venture to say that they have a portion of their wealth in real Bitcoin in self-custody. So they might be doing a bit of both. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah, no, yeah. That's fair. That's fair. And I wanted to transition to real estate real quick. What do you actually? How about this? If you had, let's say, you had like $50,000 and you're ready to put it for a down payment for a house. I know this is. I mean, everybody's situation is different, of course. Would you right now? Would you put a $50,000 down for a deposit to buy a house, or would you continue to rent and stack Bitcoin?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I mean, I would have no hesitation in saying if all you have is $50,000, because let's face it, I'm not sure about exactly where you are, but where we are, $50,000, it really wouldn't get you much. Certainly, yeah, you'd really look if you put $50,000 down towards a house now,
Mm-hmm.
your mortgage would be so large,
Yeah,
right, for 30 years
yeah.
at a variable rate. That would be like a life sentence,
Mm-hmm.
in terms
Yeah.
of a financial decision where you're really never going to get out of that. So really, I'm speaking to younger people with this, because I think younger people who have saved up maybe $50,000 thinking they want to enter the housing market, and they've seen house prices just run away in the last few years. Like, I can speak to this, mate, because I've got kids that are in this position.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm trying to do with them, like they're in their 20s, I'm trying to get them to 0.1 Bitcoin,
Mm-hmm.
because they can rent for the next 5, 10 years and just watch the value of their savings compound with Bitcoin. They're going to be able to buy half a house or a full house,
Yep.
if they could just hang in there. And so rather than have this massive noose around your neck called a mortgage,
Yeah.
right? And if you put $50,000 down, I'm here to tell you that, the median house price here in Australia now is well over $1 million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So 50%, when you consider stamp duty, which is costs, taxes to get into the property market to begin with,
Mm-hmm.
$50,000 wouldn't even represent a 5% deposit. And so,
Oof.
you're going to end up with an enormous mortgage that you're going to be paying for the rest of your life.
Yep.
And yeah, to me, it's just a way smarter play for younger people who have that time horizon to put it into Bitcoin instead. Because, the thing to realize too, Ralph, is Bitcoin is not a mature asset class. It's an emerging asset class.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We only have 5% adoption,
Yep.
right? So we're sitting at like the internet 1999 here,
Yep.
when we were still sending Christmas cards to our family instead of email.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
nobody was shopping online with Amazon.
Yeah.
Back then, who would have put their credit card onto a website to buy a cap or a pair of jeans? Or we just wouldn't have done it.
Right.
It takes time for these things. So we have to understand that all of the adoption is ahead of us with Bitcoin. Now, if we were sitting here 20 years from now,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it would be a different conversation.
Yeah.
But here we are at the beginning of this adoption curve if you put $50,000 into that compound annual growth rate calculator. Now, we illustrated what happens if you put 12,000 in 15 years. Imagine if you put 50,000 in, you're probably going to get there in 8 to 10 years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So for me, the message is clear. Learn about Bitcoin so that you understand what it is, because nobody can tell you what to do with your money.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because we're not financial advisors. We're not qualified to give financial advice. But what we can
Mm-hmm.
say is
Mm-hmm.
go and read the big print. Go
Yep.
and read the Bitcoin Standard.
Yep.
Okay? Does that make sense? Great. You're on your way.
Right.
So you have to develop your own conviction. And I just think that anybody who really cares about their financial future, who wants to go on a bit of a hunt for learning, right, they'll quickly realize this is the place to be. But what I would say is, don't feel that you have to learn everything about Bitcoin before you get started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you'll never get started.
Oh yeah.
You just can't learn it there is to know about Bitcoin. Like it takes, like here I am 7 years on, I learn something new every day.
Mm-hmm.
If I had have waited,
you would never get in.
to learn about everything there is to know about Bitcoin, I'd never get in. I'd still be sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah. Yep.
So people use that as an excuse. I hear this all the time. Oh, I want to do a bit more research. Oh, I want to do a bit. They've already read 6 books.
Yeah. That's crazy. Damn, like how much more conviction do you need? Like that's crazy. Wow. Oh, yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. All right, I guess you just convinced me not to buy a house then. Thank you very much. I was just kidding. But is there? I know we're coming up on the hour right now. Is there anything else that we did not discuss that you feel like people should know? I mean, I know we just dropped quite a bit of knowledge here, but anything else that you think that's important?
Look, I think we've covered a lot of ground, Ralph. I really appreciate the conversation. Probably the only thing that I would say is, if you're coming into Bitcoin for the first time or you're pretty new to this space, just remember, you don't need one whole Bitcoin, right? Start low and grow.
Yep.
Start low and grow. That would be my message.
Yeah.
That's what I did. That's what I always recommend people do, because it's something that over time you will develop your clarity, your confidence, and your conviction if you just gradually increase that over time. Now, it doesn't mean you do nothing and sit on the sidelines. Like I said, you have to take action. But once you have some skin in the game and you start acquiring Bitcoin, taking it into self-custody, that's going to develop your desire to learn more, to keep stacking. And then really your only job is to hold on, like we say in Bitcoin, HODL, hold on for dear life, and to not lose your damn Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
You only had 3 things to do: stack, hold, HODL, and secure your Bitcoin in the right way. And if you do those 3 things and you have a low time preference, zoom out and just stay the path, you stay disciplined, you just keep stacking, you're going to win.
Oh yeah.
You're going to win.
Oh yeah. I love the message, man. I love the message. And I wanted to ask you, were you a boxer in the past? What's the story behind the Muhammad Ali poster?
And I've got a few athletic figures in history that always I found inspirational, and he was one of my heroes. And no, I did 20 years in martial arts and things
wow.
like that. So I was very involved in combat sports and things like that. But that was before I reached my 50s.
Yeah. Nice. I love that, man. I love that. And what else do you do for fun?
These days, I'm a cross-country mountain biker.
Oh wow!
So
nice.
I do a lot of cross-country mountain biking, and I do multi-day stage races. So I go to these locations around Australia, and I do 4 or 5 day stage races, and so that's my main gig. But I'm been married for 25 years to a beautiful woman, and got 3 beautiful girls, and man, that all keeps me pretty busy.
Yeah, that's good, man. I love it. And I got one last question for you, man. If you had to go back in time and give your younger self advice, what would you tell yourself, other than buying Bitcoin, of course?
I think probably the number one thing is just to think outside the box. We just live in a society now where everybody is just being conditioned to function in a certain way. And I really think that the people who really achieve great things in this world are those that have the ability to just think for themselves, think outside the square, just go on a hunt for learning and self-educate. I really think that's the most important thing for young people coming through. And when we consider that AI is now going to become a significant part of our lives, and whilst it's a tool that can really help us to speed things up, the risk is that it's going to do all the thinking for us. So we run the risk of kids coming through now being conditioned to just not think for themselves. And so I just really encourage people, and if I was talking to my younger self, it would be to just remember that you have your own skills, your own brain, your own potential, and you just need to go after it, and not just to subscribe to the everyday norm, because we know that most people in the graveyard have only ever lived up to 40% of their true potential.
That's
So,
deep. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow. This is a good message, man. I love it. I love it. Where can people find you, man?
Man, I'm most active on YouTube. So if you just go to my YouTube channel at Zane Truscott,
Nice.
I put out 3-4 videos a week, sitting in the front seat of my truck. I do sort of a talking head style of podcast. And I'm starting to get invited on different shows like yourself. And I really appreciate the invitation, man. I've really enjoyed it. And
of course. Yeah.
I
Same
just
here,
hope the listeners get value, and maybe we can do it again later in the year, brother.
Oh yeah, of course, man. Of course, man. I'll hit you up for sure. I appreciate it, your time, man. Thanks again for being here, man.